10 least developed countries in Asia. Rich in beautiful women, it has become the largest red light district in the world. The average person earns only $1 to $2 a day. Surprisingly, some of them are sitting on minerals and oil, etc. Black gold, a world-class natural treasure trove. But GDP per capita is painfully low. Talented resources, how did it become? Institutions that limit national development. Let's uncover behind these countries. Untold story. 10th place, Bangladesh. Have you ever seen a country where cigarettes are at the root? Today, in the 21st century, this sight can be unbelievable. However, in Bangladesh, it's an ordinary day. On Bangladesh's 147,570 square kilometers, about 170 million people live. That is to say, 1,138 people live per square kilometer. This country, perennially at the top of the global poverty list, GDP per capita is only $1,869. 49.8% of the population are below the poverty-stricken counties. 33.4% of them are extremely poor, is a regular visitor to UN aid. And Bangladesh can be reduced to what it is today. The challenges of the natural environment can be attributed to. Bangladesh is located in Constant River and Arushan, on the delta formed by the impact of the Bujiang River. Low-grade, fertile land. In those days when agriculture was the mainstay, this is the perfect imperial opportunity. However, there's a little too much water given by nature. Bangladesh has 230 rivers, plus lakes and ponds. The total water area accounts for 10% of the country. But most of Bangladesh's altitude are under 10 meters, in the event of a rainstorm casually submerged by the raging flood. Against this backdrop, Bangladesh, even the most basic agriculture, difficult to develop stably. Manufacturing and service industries are even more impossible to talk about. But then again, despite stagnant economic development, Bangladesh but unexpectedly prosperous in an industry. That's the sex industry. This impoverished land has the largest red light district in the world. At the doors of those humble houses are all standing women soliciting guests. 9th place, Pakistan. Pakistan is located in South Asia. Huge population of 240 million. GDP per capita in 2023 is just $1,664. The population of the entire country, 21.9% of people live in poverty-stricken counties. Daily life expenses are less than $1.90. These numbers are really shocking at first glance. Pakistan, after all, not only received a lot of international aid, he himself has rich mineral resources and cheap labor. These conditions should at least keep the people fed, but the reality is poverty and hunger rampant. Poverty in Pakistan, first from the lack of education. The national literacy rate here is only 44%, and education has become markedly polarized. Rich-class kids in honesty access to high-quality private education, and most children in rural and slum areas can even have basic literacy problems. Although the government claims to have invested heavily in education, but due to serious corruption, a large part of these funds into the pockets of officials. Many schools still use outdated facilities of the last century. There are even a group of schools due to lack of funds directly shut down. In addition, let's look at the political environment in Pakistan. Pakistan borders India and Afghanistan. It's almost a never-ending battlefield. 8th of India directly provoked the relations between the two countries. Protracted war. Pakistan-Afghanistan border issue also causes frequent friction. Long war and confrontation seriously consumed Pakistan's national strength, making the already sluggish economy worse. 8th place, Cambodia. Ancient Cambodia in Southeast Asia, world-famous Angkor Wat witnessed the once glorious Angkor dynasty. Today's Cambodia, but not anymore. The former hegemon of the Indochina Peninsula become one of the least developed countries in Asia. Poverty in Cambodia stems from many reasons. First, the wars and political upheavals of history led to the destruction of Cambodia's social infrastructure and the cessation of economic development. After the 15th century, Cambodia began to decline rapidly, slim on the side. Thailand today keeps attacking it. By the end of the 19th century, Cambodia was completely reduced to a colony of European powers. Since then, by the 1970s, Hong Zae-ga Nin initiated one of the largest genocides ever. 1.70 million Cambodians in this operation never woke up. So, despite its rich cultural and historical resources, Cambodia's road to modernization remains extremely difficult. 7th place, Tajikistan. Tajikistan may be a geography textbook fleeting name. It is of real and interesting existence in Central Asia. Its land area is only 143,100 square kilometers. It's the smallest of the 5 Central Asian countries. Mountains soar into the clouds, known as the country of black ridges. Fruit, sweet and juicy, known as the fruit town of Central Asia. Yet these beautiful adjectives does not hide the real plight of Tajikistan, the poorest, least developed country of the 5 Central Asian countries. Its per capita GDP is merely $1,441. But don't look at Tajikistan being poor. He's actually a country with mines at home. In Tajikistan has nearly 900 billion cubic meters of natural gas and more than 100 million tons of oil. In addition to this, Tajikistan also has very rich water resources. Per capita ownership, according to the World First, the total number ranks 8th in the world, 60% of the entire Central Asia. However, these endless rich resources but are not to this country, bringing economic prosperity. Tajikistan's economy can be said to be the natural environment and historical background, shaped together. Tajikistan is located on the Pamir Plateau. Mountains and plateaus in the territory account for 93% of the total area, less than 7% of arable land. There's no agriculture at all in most areas. This leads directly to Tajikistan must rely on food imports. At the same time, such geographical conditions makes transportation very difficult, so no matter how rich the resources are, mining and export costs are too high. No one wants to invest here. 6th place, Timor-Leste. Mentioning Timor-Leste, you may feel unfamiliar. This small country in Southeast Asia, one of the youngest countries in the world, is also one of the least developed countries in Asia. GDP per capita in 2023 is only $1,361, still in the early stages of development. It's unbelievable such a backward young country actually has more than Brunei abundant oil and gas resources. Current proven oil reserves in East Timor more than 5 billion barrels. Natural gas reserves are nearing 700 billion cubic meters. Resource abundance in Southeast Asia, that's one of the best. But unfortunately, these rich resources did not bring economic prosperity to East Timor. Instead, it became the curse of poverty. East Timor, since independence from Indonesia in 2002, caught in the quagmire of civil unrest. Like many new independent regions, the problem of distribution of power led to the founding team is constantly divided. Frequent civil unrest. These series of problems seriously hinder economic development. But even more terrifying, resource curse is also vividly reflected here. Although more than Brunei, abundant oil and gas resources, but because the country itself lacks sufficient technical and management capacity, so did not get the financial benefits it has deserved. Most of the profits are siphoned off by foreign companies. In addition to this, a single economic structure is a problem. Dong Di asks being too dependent on oil and gas. This makes its economy very fragile. Fluctuations of international oil prices will directly affect national income, while other industries like agriculture and services have not been fully developed. For the above reasons, Timor-Leste has a very low per capita income. A family of 7 or 8 might make around $100 a month. 5th place, Kyrgyzstan. Kyrgyzstan, another poor country in Central Asia. He's surrounded by mountains. 80% of the country is covered with mountains and mountains, interspersed with lakes and rivers. Magnificent is magnificent, poor is really poor. In 2023, his per capita GDP is just $1,264. But Kyrgyzstan is not always so embarrassing. Back in the Soviet times, it used to be a powerhouse in agriculture and animal husbandry. After joining the Soviet Union in 1936, he became a known animal husbandry provider in the Soviet Union. Sheep rearing ranks first in the Soviet Union, third place in each member country. Also, Kyrgyzstan also used its high mountain valleys and abundant natural resources to develop hydroelectric, nuclear minerals. However, after the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, a country dependent on Soviet economic support suddenly lost support. The economy plummeted in an instant. For a living, the government had to slaughter a lot of sheep.
Exchange for foreign exchange. Mineral resources are also sold cheaply. Foreign debt paid off. Thereafter, Kyrgyzstan's economy begins to decline sharply. The standard of living has plummeted. This ending is not out of the question. In Soviet times, northern Kyrgyzstan takes the lead in developing industry. The economic level has greatly surpassed that of the south. Most of the senior government officials are also from the north. For a long time, national development slowly emerges, north to south poverty. The populous South, naturally very dissatisfied with this. The confrontation between the North and the South has led to long-term political instability. Frequent government changes and political instability further weaken the country's economic foundation. Poverty in the country is getting worse. Fourth place, Myanmar, a country full of contradictions. Hidden in an exotic land in Southeast Asia, natural resources are abundant here. Once had the reputation of Oriental rice warehouse. However, despite the abundant resources and a huge demographic dividend, Myanmar today is one of the least developed countries in Asia. GDP per capita in 2023 is only $1,169. Living here is like dancing on the edge of heaven and hell. How high are the mountains in Nepal? Especially in the mountains in the northern region, the snow does not melt all year round. Off the beaten path, here are the world-famous Himalayas. These include the world's highest peak, Mount Everest. Nepal's forest resources and biological resources are very rich. The ecological environment has basically not been greatly damaged. At this point, Nepalese are especially proud, even wrote him into his national anthem. Nepal's natural beauty attracts countless tourists. A large number of climbers every year came here with explorers to challenge the top of the world. Yet, despite these natural wonders, Nepal's economic development is not ideal. More than 80% of Nepalese are mainly engaged in traditional agriculture, daily cultivation of sugarcane and rice. Although it is basically possible to achieve food self-sufficiency, but the level of industrial development is very low. Only the most basic processing can be performed. Of annual spending, nearly 30% comes from borrowing and international aid. Second place, Yemen in the rich Arabian Peninsula. It's a veritable rich country. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, these oil countries are rich in oil. But there are exceptions. It's unfortunate Yemen is one such exception. The country is recognized by the United Nations as one of the least developed countries. GDP per capita in 2023 is only $966. That, compared to more than $60,000 in Qatar next door, can be a heaven and a hell. You look closely at his geographical location. Yemen guards the Suez Canal. Exit to the Indian Ocean, Gulf of Aden, and Red Sea should be able to attract countless merchant ships and investment. And in history, Nomato is indeed an indispensable stop on the Silk Road. Merchant ships from Asia and Europe frequently stop at Nomato port for supplies, then transport the goods by land to the northern Arabian Peninsula. Fertile land and abundant precipitation also makes Nomato develop a prosperous civilization early. Before the massive discovery of oil, Yemen was comparable to the rest of the peninsula, more prosperous. But look at today's reality. Yemen's ports and markets are often empty. Merchant ships prefer to take a detour, avoid this chaotic sea. Continued conflict and political instability pushed the country to the brink of the world's attention. Economic development almost stagnated. First place, Afghanistan. August 30, 2021, thousands of Afghans flocked to the airport in the capital Kabul, witnessed a historic and thorough after 20 years of U.S. troops in Afghanistan, finally all withdrawn. The end of a war started in the name of terrorism. This small country in Central Asia is long known as the Imperial Cemetery, because on his land has collapsed the British Empire one after another, the three World Soviets and U.S.-controlled forces. This seemingly fine nickname is behind the blood, tears, and struggles of countless Afghan people. Although U.S. troops have withdrawn, but Afghanistan remains the poorest country in Central Asia. GDP per capita is only $373. Afghanistan considers its mountainous border to be a complex terrain. Mountains take up most of the country. In peacetime, this terrain limits agricultural production, but in wartime, he became a natural guerrilla battlefield. Complex terrain makes it difficult for foreign invaders to completely control, also created the Afghan people's tenacious fighting spirit. Like that old Afghan proverb says, "You could take our orchard, but never break our mountain." However, these advantages are transformed into economic development drivers. Most of the land is in the hands of tribal chiefs. The cultivation of food and cash crops is very limited, eventually lead to Afghanis' chronic poverty. All right, that's all for this video. Don't know today, the 10 least developed countries in Asia introduced, which one impresses you more? Welcome to let us know in the comment area.